Beth is here to present from the Coalition of for the Homeless. I can pass those out.
Probably enough for you.
That way you can.
There's exactly 15, and I counted exactly 15 people besides yourself, Sandra. Apologies for that. So, as Sandra said, I'm Beth Barker, Hidalgo. I am the director of the Curry Homeless Coalition, and
Anything else?
I'm here in grace and humility and gratitude for your generous donation for us to be able to purchase a commercial washer and dryer. One of the burdens that unhoused people carry with them is the inability to maintain their own personal hygiene and clean clothing, and it's a kind of a basic human need, and I'm happy that we're going to be able to facilitate that moving forward. So the handouts that you have, these are some of the statistics, our mission statement, and some of the statistics from the 1 year that we've been in operation at the Southern Oregon Coast Resource Center. We're located at 29821 Colvin Street. Used to be where mental health and addictions was long ago. It was probation, parole, and probation. We've been in that office now for a year, January 3rd. We've been able to maintain housing for 14 households in Curry County through our homeless prevention program. We got a grant last year in late 2018 from All Care for $10,000, and I'm going to tell you, we blew through that money in 4.5 months, saving households from homelessness or helping people over the threshold to get into housing. We went ahead and put another $5,000 out of our budget into homeless prevention, and that brought us up to 13 households. And just yesterday, I wrote a check for space rent for an individual down in Harbor, so that it brings us up to 14 households to date that we've been able to help to remain housed. In December, we received a generous donation we helped a client here in town, a woman in her 70s who, because of some behaviors, ended up evicted from her home. And we jumped in, got her a hotel room, contacted family, and worked with her all through the summer to get her placed in a stable living environment. And unbeknownst to us, her brother is an executive at IBM. And they have to donate a percentage of their stock options to nonprofits, and so he donated 40 shares of IBM stock to the coalition. Wow. So I just got approval at our board meeting last night. We are going to reissue our homeless prevention program, specifically targeting people in mobile home parks and RV parks, because community action agencies like ORCA that help with rental assistance, HUD does not consider a mobile or an RV to be a home, and so federal dollars cannot be used to prevent homelessness or to provide rental assistance for people who live in mobile home parks or RV parks. So we are going to dedicate that. It's about $5,300 that the stock will liquefy into our bank account, and we're going to dedicate that for homeless prevention for people in mobile home parks and RV parks. Because we want to keep people housed. It's a lot cheaper than getting them rehomed after they've lost their housing. We've had 454 visits to the Resource Center in the year that we've been open. We've provided, during those visits, 111 showers, 180 meals. 140 clients have utilized our resource room, where we have a computer, we have a jobs board. People are able to come in and search for employment, for housing. We have movies, they can watch a movie. I mean, anywhere from entertainment to job searches and housing searches on the computer. They can apply for Social Security, they can download applications to get their IDs, any number of things that you can do on a computer. And I know our library has computers as well, but some of our clients don't feel comfortable. It's not that the library doesn't welcome them, they may not feel comfortable going into that environment. So we do get pretty high utilization in that room. 31 clients are now utilizing mail services. We're offering mail services for folks that don't have a physical mailing address. And so we also do Lifeline phone applications, and there are some Social Security, disability, and some other government agencies that won't deliver to general delivery at the mailbox, at the post office. So for those purposes, we do offer the use of our physical mailing address for the folks. We've processed 31 Housing Authority Housing Choice Voucher applications to date. That's for subsidized housing in Curry. And we hosted an orientation with the Housing Authority. They issued 24 vouchers over the summer, and we were able to host that orientation locally. Normally, people have to travel to North Bend to go through the orientation, and so a lot of folks don't ever get those vouchers because they have barriers to getting up to the office. So we're happy that the Housing Authority is coming down here and meeting people where they are and issuing those vouchers and providing orientation. Laundries. We also provide access to ORCA, Community Action Housing and Energy Assistance. ORCA's office in Curry is down in Brookings. So there's a lot of folks here in Gold Beach that need energy assistance, and they have to figure out how to get down there to Brookings to apply and turn in their application. They're now able to come over to our office. We will scan and email their applications down to the Brookings office for processing. So again, we're eliminating some of the barriers that people have experienced to resources like that. So we tried really hard, just in case somebody's wondering, why aren't we sending people to the laundromat? We tried really hard for months and months to make an arrangement with our local laundromat here in Gold Beach for folks to be able to go. We were happy to set up an account and issue vouchers for people to go do their laundry here locally, and I could not get a return. I couldn't get the owner of the laundromat to get back to me, so that's why we came to you guys and said, hey, can we just purchase a commercial stackable washer and dryer and start offering laundry services? So we're super grateful. Again, it is a huge burden for folks to, clothing, any material things become devalued really quickly when you're on the street. So if you're finding, clothing, articles of clothing, and they're stashed in a bush or they're thrown in a trash can, they're dirty and they don't have any way to deal with that. And so, we can bring back a little bit of dignity for folks and provide them with some clean clothes. And we do host SCBEC, South Coast Business Employment Corporation, is in our office once a week. I have asked for a report so I could let you guys know how many folks have been referred to them through our resource center, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get that report, but the numbers are high. The young lady, Melissa Henderson, who's there, she had started out at the library and had 4 clients here in Gold Beach and no private office to meet with folks. She's booked every Thursday now, every week. She's struggling to keep up with the pace, so I've contacted her boss to see if we can get her in there a second day a week. She's a phenomenal career navigator, and she's getting people employed as quickly as possible. BC Fisheries is one of the best places here in Curry County. They will hire people with challenging backgrounds. They're really what we might call a felony-friendly employer. And for a lot of our folks, that's a huge barrier to gainful employment, is their criminal background. No matter how long it's been since they've committed a crime, it sticks with them forever. And so some employers just aren't able to or aren't willing to give them a chance. So Melissa's, if there's a job out there for somebody with a colorful background, she'll find it for them. She's amazing. And we love that partnership. We have interest from other partners in Curry. ARC of Curry is they serve the population with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They're going to come tour our office and see if they want to come join us under our roof. So right now we have 5 partners operating under one roof. So it's really increasing access to valuable, impactful, and transformative services for our community. Laundry was the missing link, is the missing link at this point. I'm sure we'll find another one as we assess folks when they come in. And I'd like to recognize Carl. He has stepped up, I'm sure y'all know. Every Wednesday afternoon he's there from 1 to 3:30 offering shower monitoring for males. We're all women who work in the office, and our policy is if a male needs a shower, there needs to be a male on site. Sometimes I can run next door to Christian Help and borrow one of Cindy's male volunteers if it's not a Wednesday afternoon. But I just we all appreciate Carl coming over on Wednesdays after your meeting here and offering that service so that our guys can get cleaned up on some regularity. So, and we're really trying to be not transactional, but transformative with the work that we're doing. It's hand up, not hand out. We have some of our more challenging clients. We're seeing an improvement in their appearance, their day-to-day, their sobriety. We're really seeing a transformation for some of our clients here in Gold Beach. And we're also starting, just a point of interest, it's a really rough environment down in Brookings right now for folks that are unhoused, and we're starting to see a little bit of an in-migration as a result. And we can't absorb any more people here in Gold Beach than we already have. We don't even have the resources that we need to serve the population that we have. So I've started a dialogue with our Commissioner Boyce because number one, he's empathetic and compassionate and wants to help us and support us in what we're doing. And number two, this is a whole community issue. If Brookings reduces the services provided and we're increasing the services provided, naturally we're going to see a migration of folks. So I think from our perspective, the whole community needs to be planning together and working together for how we incrementally serve this population so that we don't create a migration within the county. Because certainly Port Orford can't absorb any folks coming up that way, and we're struggling, like I said, to meet the needs of the people that we serve already. So I've been in touch with Janelle Howard, the city manager in Brookings, and we're reaching out to see if we can start a dialogue. How can we help? I've drafted operations manuals for warming centers for families and individuals. I'm willing to offer that technical support to churches or other nonprofits if they want to consider warming centers. And that's really where we think we need to start, because if we can't man and operate a warming center on an intermittent basis, we certainly can't do a 24/7 shelter in Curry. So we kind of have to stick our toe in and figure out what our capabilities are before we try to go full bore and, provide a full complement of services, because we just don't have those resources here. Human capital, we don't have it to manage that. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes.
The warming center, would that be just a place for them to go at night? Mm-hmm. And they'd spend a whole night there, or just a few hours to get, how does that really work?
So right now here in Gold Beach, SDA Church on 3rd Street is operating a warming center. I stopped by last night and talked to Lila. Lila Thorpe runs the warming center, and she runs the warming center. She's it.
I know.
And I went by last night to just see what her needs are. But yes, it's usually a dusk to dawn kind of program, and you restrict in and out after a certain time. She cuts it off at 8:30. They're not allowed to go out after 8:30. If they do, they can't come back in, because some of our folks have addiction issues, and they will go out and they will drink or they will use, and then they will want to come back in and they will cause a disruption. And so there are rules necessary for folks to keep everybody safe. When I stopped, she only had 3 folks in there.
But do they bring bedding, or does the warming center provide that?
They provide blankets, but I'll tell you, there was a woman in her 60s laying on the floor on a blanket, and then so I offered her, I said, can we get you some cots, or sleeping mats,
That's what I was wondering, if there's some
that we can. Well, Oregon Coast Community Action has offered a reimbursement grant to us for warming centers, and I just got the subrecipient agreement last night. If we decide to take the grant, we have 6 weeks to spend down $14,000. And we only have 2 warming centers operating in Curry now, one in Port Orford and one here in Gold Beach. So I did an assessment with Lila last night, said, what do you need? They need a dishwasher, they need a garbage disposal, they need cots. She doesn't have anywhere to store them. We're going to work on that. But these are the things, and food, a budget for food. She's spending about $80 a week on the soup kitchen alone on Tuesdays. And she feeds them dinner. When it's warming center night, she feeds them dinner. They get popcorn, they watch a movie. I've known her to fix banana splits for everybody who's sitting there. And then they get a hot breakfast in the morning before they leave. So we're going to supplement her food budget for sure. And then we'll look at some of those other tangible items that she needs to run, to continue to run the warming center. Yes?
What's the county status on the ability of people who live in an RV situation that's not in a legal RV park?
Well, that's a code enforcement issue, so David Fortman would be probably your best person to answer that question. But I do, as a member of the Curry Housing Task Force, we are looking at that issue. We are looking at the issue of RVs in mobile home parks. We're looking at all of those. RVs and mobile home parks are the last truly affordable housing across the nation, not just here in Curry. Space rent is usually anywhere from $300 to $500 a month. That's reasonable for people on fixed income. But the ones that are, the RVs that are outside a park, that are parked illegally on private property or turnouts or, that's really a code enforcement issue, and we don't have any authority over that. So I would imagine talking to David Fortman would be, you'd get your best answer from him as to how they're going to handle that and how they do handle that.
Well, how's the county dealing with it?
That's what I'm saying. They have, David Fortman is the county code enforcement officer, and he is issuing citations. But if you want real specifics on what their policy and procedures are, I would talk to a commissioner or David Fortman to find out for sure what his process is for managing illegally parked RVs and trailers. We just know we get those folks coming in our door when it happens, because now they've lost their home, particularly if it gets towed. Now they've lost their home and everything they owned. So they come to us and say, okay, I need a whole bunch of stuff. In the back. Yeah.
Of the folks that come into the homeless coalition and receive benefits from it, do you guys track at all how many of those were original residents that have fallen on hard times and how many might be transient coming in from places that don't offer those benefits?
Glad you asked that question. So, if who in the room is familiar with the point in time count, the annual homeless census that takes place every year in January. So we are tracking that information. We purchased a software platform. It's called Kintone. It's a Japanese product. They're here in America. It's super cheap for nonprofits. You can, for $300, you buy the system and you can have up to 50 users on your system. And we are tracking every relevant piece of data, and it doesn't go anywhere else. This is ours. This is where those graphs came from, is right straight from our database. So last year in Coos Bay, when point in time count occurred, there were separate local questions that were asked of the about 500 people that they surveyed. And they asked, how long have you been in Coos County? If it's less than a year, they asked, where did you come from? Why did you come? What brought you here? And I think there's a fourth question also. But it's interesting because the notion of if you build it, they will come is very prevalent in the communities that we serve. And the interesting feedback was that only 8% of the people who were not from Coos County came for resources. Over 50% of the people questioned were there because they had a family or a friend support network. That's what brought them there. And then there was about 13 or 15% that said they came because of the environment. It doesn't freeze, we don't get snow. I mean, we might have some cold temps at night occasionally, but we don't have snow, we don't have permafrost. This is a hospitable environment to be in if you're living outdoors. So that kind of debunks the notion. And this year, we are surveying next Wednesday at Common Good. It's point in time count time. We're surveying at Common Good on the 22nd. We are surveying in Gold Beach and Brookings on the 28th. And we're asking those questions for Curry. We're going to ask the same questions and see what kind of response we get back so that we can address that often a misnomer that people are coming because we're providing the resources. We hear that a lot in South County. If you just stop feeding them, they will go away. Just like with garbage, there is no away. There's really no away, and there's no there. I forgot to mention, we do run a Homeward Bound program, and we have provided long-distance transportation for folks I think we'd have 33 clients in our Homeward Bound app for our database, and about a dozen or so of those have been put on a Greyhound bus to somewhere, a shelter bed, a rehab program, a family or friend support network. We verify that there's a there, we call, and we ask for a call when they land. So we know we're not getting, but we've sent, the furthest we sent someone was Wisconsin. Yep, from here. They were here in Curry, they had nothing, they had no one, they had no support, and so we talked to them. We take the time to do what's called a coordinated entry assessment. It's 100 questions. It's a very personal deep dive into their life, and it's hard. I've got clients I can't get through that assessment with because it triggers stuff, and it takes them a while to get through that assessment. But what we learn from that is information that helps us realize how best to deal with this person, what kind of supports and programs do they need. And as it turns out, sometimes it is, I burned that bridge a few years ago. I haven't talked to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or aunt or uncle or whatever. We will facilitate that contact and get them reconnected, and if they're willing, we'll put them on a bus there. But we are not going to put somebody on a bus just to get them out of Curry. Not going to do that. That has happened, and it traumatized one of our regular clients who was put on a bus to Eugene, and they got off the bus and saw the sea of tents and the heroin addicts, and just, it was a horrible week before they were able to get back here to Curry County. It was horrible. So we will not do that. If there isn't a there, we won't send them. Feel-good story, I'll make it brief as possible. We had a woman who was, I got a call from the hospital, the ED at Curry General Hospital, and it was Michelle at the emergency room, and she said, we have a homeless woman here. We need to discharge her. Can we send them to your resource center? And they said, yeah. I asked a few questions. Is she ambulatory? Is she, high functioning? What's her deal? And they were like, yeah. They put her in a cab, and she showed up. She could barely walk up our steps. She was ambulatory, but it was shaky. She had edema, and this is not my diagnosis. I don't have a medical background, but we have advanced health in our office. Maggie Lowry is a former nurse. She's a case manager now. She took one look at this woman and said, Beth, you should send her back. She has cellulitis. She's in a bad way, diabetic, the whole 9 yards. And so I called the ED to send her back, and they were like, well, she AMA'd. She went against medical advice and refused her discharge instructions, so we're not going to take her back. So the next thing, all I could do was start figuring out who, she's from Klamath County. I got a hold of her coordinated care organization. They told me who her behavioral health provider was. I called them, they said, please send her back. She's got dual diagnosis, and she's at the top of the list for housing. We will house her if you get her back here. This is the kind of work that needs to be done at the boots on the ground level, is taking the time to make those phone calls and make those connections and get people back to the services that they're eligible for. I got a call the next day and from the behavioral health provider, and she said, she's here. We got her cleaned up, we got her clean clothes, we got her food, she's in the mission, and she's next on the list for housing. So that's how we get people where they need to be. It's not just, here's a bus ticket, get out, go leave Curry. Making those connections is the transformative piece, the work that we're doing here. So thank you so much for supporting us. I appreciate it.
And we would love to present you with both a big and a small check to help with your endeavor. Thank you. And it is for the, I'm waiting for the photo. For the commercial washer and dryer, to help with respect and dignity for our population.
Our residents. Our residents of Curry.